Hey, Richard.
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
What's good, man?
What am I doing? I just got back from Las Vegas. I was in a conference called DEF CON about security. A
Vegas. Right on.
lot of hackers at that convention. Yeah, it was pretty
A lot
cool.
of hackers, eh?
People that work, like people that are sort of, under the general term hackers, they're all like, there's such a, there's like a bunch of deep areas, like, because you can hack like hardware, software, people hack like apps. They talk about like just exploits that are used even like on iPhones like in recent times, and there's people that are like really aware, really understand like networks and internet, and there's people that are talking about like the hacking that Russia does, or the sort of the like the great firewall of China. Like China has a whole firewall around their internet that has different capabilities for like identifying packets they don't want like getting into and out of the country. It's pretty cool just being. It was very overwhelming because there's everyone's like so deep into their area, but it's pretty cool. Just everyone there understands like different parts of computers on such a low level. Uh, they know how to like exploit them or defend them or protect them or whatever. It's pretty cool to see.
What's your main takeaway from it?
Yeah, what was my. Well, I like puzzles, and there was like a whole room of like people had booths, and there was a bunch of different things called like capture the flags, where you solve puzzles in order to get basically these. Like a flag is just like a bunch of numbers, and like it's like number like an alphanumeric string or whatever that just represents that you solved the puzzle and found like the flag or the code that you're looking for. And so I really liked that room. There was like my friend that I was there with. Someone just gave him like this tiny hard drive, and we plugged it in, and there was like puzzles on it, and you had to like you solve one puzzle, and that gives you like the code that you use to unlock like the next file. There was like 10 files on it, and each of were locked, and you could sort of like access the first file only, and you solve some kind of puzzle, either like like decrypt this or uh, actually the puzzle that I got stuck at was it gave you like an encrypted message that was encrypted with the Enigma machine from like World War II, and then it gave you like the
Yeah.
code, like the seed. And so I would have had to solve this one. If I ever go back and solve it, I would have had to go learn like how do you like how do you work the Enigma machine if you have the code and an encrypted message. I guess I would just have to plug those things into something, but I have to go find like where I can get that. But that's also kind of a cool puzzle.
That sounds intense.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if that
those
would
kind
be
of
fun for
puzzles
me.
are. Yeah, it's very overwhelming at the beginning, but all of the contests have like repeat elements. Like there's there's like things like if you've done them before, then when they give you the puzzle, you're just like, oh, the answer is like do this thing because you just know it from previous, and then it's not so hard, but it feels cool because you're getting through different levels. I always wish I had someone to walk me through it because I just want like the answers. I don't want the knowledge, but I have to always like try it a bunch myself and then find someone who's done it, and like it's so hard to get the answer and to learn. I always feel like I get stuck somewhere and then I don't really have anybody to tell me how it's done or something, which is kind of annoying.
Okay. Then did you have any fun?
Yeah, it was fun. I went
Like,
saw
did you
like
go
a
out?
Cirque du Soleil.
Did you go out to the
Yeah,
casinos and stuff? Yeah.
just like a Cirque du Soleil show. There's another place called Meow Wolf that we visited. We did a few restaurants. There was like a good sushi restaurant, and there's a just it's fun walking around Las Vegas. Like inside some of the casinos, there's like one mall shopping area has like a river like through the middle, and it's like it pretends to be like Venice. And there's some like I don't know like famous Roman fountain, or there's one part of a roof that looks like a one of the like roofs that's inside of a Roman temple or something. Apparently, a lot of
I
like
can.
neat architecture.
Yeah, I can visualize that actually.
Yeah,
Extravagant, tall, beautiful artwork.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good like painted roofs. Yeah,
Beauty. All right, cool. Well, welcome back. And okay, you gonna go back to something like that?
My friend says he's gonna go back. I'm not sure I would go back right away. Maybe eventually. It would be neat to see like how the community evolves, like maybe 10 years from now or something.
Yeah.
I always
I
want
was
to do like new stuff every year.
I was invited to some sort of symposium conference about artificial intelligence and how it's going to impact the government. The first astronaut, well, the first commander of the space station from Canada, is going to be guest speaker there. And I mean, I'm interested to go just to see him. But when I really think about it,
Chris Hadfield?
yeah, he's going to be there in the flesh.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, I'm like, I'm not really interested in any of this stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
yeah.
like I'm getting out of the military, and I'm not going to be working in an industry that deals with artificial intelligence. I know there's a place for it in the future. It's going to be the future, but when it comes to national security, physical security, all that stuff, I just don't care. So if I was going to go, it's because I'm in the area. I got nothing else to do, and I get to meet Chris. That's probably the only reason why I would go.
Yeah. I wonder why he's there, just because he's like a smart guy. Maybe his degree is in it or something. Or maybe he moved on from being an astronaut. He works in that field or something.
Let me see if I can pull it up why he's there. It's going to take me a while. I deleted the email.
I always wonder, like, he was like the commander of the space station, so I feel like he could basically retire after that and just do something else. I don't know, like he feels like pulled to this symposium, like to talk about AI. I feel like there's like zero chance we're gonna get things right with AI. People, like, maybe it'll be nothing, or it will mess us up in a way we don't anticipate. I feel. I don't know what the symposium should just be like teaching people what AI is rather than trying to figure out how to manage it or something. Then if everyone kind of knew how to create it, knew how it works, then they could just think about it more accurately and it would just be like anything else. But I feel like people are just treating it like it's magic and we have to like figure out how to like protect ourselves against magic.
Yeah, I will admit that. I haven't explored it too much. I heard about chat. What was it? GPT? Yeah.
That's the big one. That's the main.
And it's very powerful, but that's not artificial intelligence. I mean, artificial intelligence is, in my mind, is something that self-learning and can eventually have its own consciousness. And I don't know if I consider that. I consider it a powerful tool, but I don't know. When I think of artificial intelligence, I think of a sentient being and Terminator. Fucking Skynet.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think of
could do like real damage. Yeah.
I don't think of isolated individual tools that do all the work for us.
Yeah.
No, I am curious how it came about and how it became so powerful, and I don't know what it stems off of, what it uses. Does it use a search engine? If so, which one? Like, how is it able to generate, for instance, an essay, a master's level essay, and all you have to do is like put in a couple keywords, the topic, and it does it for you. Like, how does it do the research? Like, what is it connected to? So, like, this is stuff I'm interested in. Like I would look for those answers, but that's not an artificial intelligence doing that and crafting that for you, because it stops there. It doesn't start thinking for itself and doing things on its own. It doesn't start learning on its own.
Yeah.
I certainly hope not, because then, that can be very bad for us.
Yeah, if it did, that's sort of the line. Like if it started learning on its own or it started thinking, that would be the line where it gets out of hand. But yeah, right now it's just good at generating text. And
but isn't that
all those other things? Yeah.
Being able to think and learn for itself, isn't that artificial intelligence, or isn't that just intelligence in general? Like, if it can't do that, then why do we call it artificial intelligence? Why don't we just call it like some sort of advanced algorithm or
Yeah, I think
powerful tool?
expert system is usually if something is just good at like one task, people call it like an expert system. They're just very good at like chess bots that can play chess only. They're expert systems, and they use like the structure of what we think AI, like actual AI, would use, but they're not. They shouldn't really be called AI because AI should be reserved for like actual things that are thinking in some way.
Yeah, it's just processing the best course of action based off given parameters. It's not thinking for itself. It's not learning from past mistakes. Unless that is out there. Unless that is happening with chess software. I don't know. Because I know like there's certain introductions or entry strategies. Like when you make the first, do you know? Because I think you do chess kind of.
Yeah, I was
You
just
do it.
playing chess just recently,
Yeah.
like a minute
So
ago.
after how many moves does it become too complex to compute the best course of action? Is it like 7? Like when does it become just sort of just like a wild game when you break away from the guaranteed wins?
Yeah, I guess I would say like 30. If you have like all the computing power, then 30 or 40 moves can be actually, yeah, 30 or 40 moves in most lines are known. Like it's just known in a lookup table, like what the best move is. People can memorize like 30 moves off the opening and they don't have to think at all. They just play the moves they memorized. So I'd imagine computers could know for sure what the best moves are up until like move 35 or 40 or something.
Wow. Because that's a lot of variation. Because every single move means there are how many options that the opponent has. And if the opponent picks one, so it moves a pawn or moves a horse, I mean that's going to affect the path that you take. So I mean, going 30 iterations, that's a lot of potential moves. Okay, so you think it's 30?
I think so, yeah, because typically like if your opponent makes not the correct move, like if you're making the perfect move for like 30 moves in a row and they're making the perfect move, like the perfect response like 30 times, if either of you makes like not one of the 4 or 5 like ideal moves on any of those turns, then usually you could find some weakness and then the game would end where you get like an advantage. So in order to keep the game like even, there's a pretty tight number of moves and responses like up until there. And I guess it can like vary to a certain extent, but there's probably like maybe there's like 1,000 or 2,000 openings, like an easily searchable space of known variations, like up to move like 30, 35 or something, where you either make like one of 4 moves each turn or you introduce like a weakness on your side. But then once you get to like move 35, I feel like you're probably in the territory where like whatever the next move is, it's going to be like a unique game. And actually that's the thing about chess is like I would guess on about move 35ish, the game will probably become like unique, like no one's ever played that game before. I think that would be the case. And then basically then you have to just have some smarter like thing based on like a neural network or like some like machine learning or like an expert human to like invent the new move and avoid the bad moves. But then the reverse is true. Like when you get closer to the end of the game, I'm pretty sure that as soon as there's 5 pieces left on the board, no matter what they are, the game is automatic. Like the game is entered into a database and solvable. Like they've created a database where like if you have any 5 pieces on the board, you can just instantly like look up in a database like what the answer is, like who will win, is it a draw? And so basically there's only the mid game, like beyond move 35 and then before there's like 5 pieces left, the game requires like thinking and creativity and invention, but the beginning and the end are solved to a certain extent. Let's see if we can look at.
all of that isn't artificial intelligence. I mean, unless you got a program that's learning to play the game as it goes and what the best moves are. Perhaps that's considered artificial intelligence. But then again, it's not sentient. It's not aware of itself. Guess I need to look up the definition.
I think it's actually about 20. Well, in 2017, they said about 20 moves into the game is like kind of solved. Yeah, so maybe instead of 35, 40, it's like 20. But if there's, and then it also says if there's 7 pieces left on the board, then they could instantly solve it.
So specific applications of AI include expert systems, natural language processing, speech recognition, and machine vision.
Yeah, machine vision is like if you write like a number with a pen on paper, like a handwritten number, then machine vision can like read that into, it can tell what number it is. It can translate like an image into, well, it can pull text out of an image or identify like the name of an object in an image.
Okay, so at its simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field which combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem solving. I think it's the foundation of a computer becoming sentient then. A computer becoming sentient doesn't, like it needs to have artificial intelligence to do it, but just because there is artificial intelligence with our programming doesn't mean it needs to be sentient. So, okay, there is a difference there.
One kind of interesting system is like people say like if you took a bunch of like expert systems that are really good at all these different things and then you built like one more system that's able to like decide which expert system to use for like a given task, then that could be kind of a powerful thing because then maybe it's like you're talking to ChatGPT and you're saying like do this thing and then ChatGPT is able to understand like what you want it to do and then it can then pass on the task to like a given expert system. And then not only can it like handle, like you can just give it an arbitrary task and then it can handle it, like it can send it off to the correct expert system, get the response back, and then do that task like really well, but also handle more than just one task. You could sort of, you could tell it like complicated things and it would just kind of communicate back and forth with different systems to like create the overall answer for like a non-trivial task.
Super powerful. I'm wondering, like, what is required for it to become self-aware? Like, our brain's very complex with lots of neural connections to create consciousness, but like, what would a computer need? Would it need the same neural network as a human, or can it do it? Yeah, it's all fascinating when I think about it.
Yeah, there's simulations of like they'll take a neural network, which is just like the structure that they try to train. They try to, like, a neural network is just like, I don't know, like a bunch of nodes connected with edges, and a neural network is like a structure that's able to like kind of learn from, like, you give it a bunch of training examples and it sort of learns how to, like, it sort of comes to understand the training data, and then if you give it like a new example, it can like take a guess at like what the answer should be based on how it was like trained. And there's ones where they've like hooked something like that up to like a character in a game, like a virtual model of a human body that has like joints, like legs and arms, and just like simple joints. And then like they tell it that its goal is to like walk down a pathway or something, and then you can see that they show you like after like 1,000 iterations, after like 10,000 or like 10 million or a billion, and they show you how it like slowly learns to like move itself. Like first it just like falls down and it realizes like if it just falls down, it's not going to get to the goal area. So then it starts like pushing its legs, and then it falls down again, and then it slowly learns like how to mimic like running or something, so that it can like make progress from where it started towards like the goal. And so basically, yeah, it's like given a body with joints and nothing else, and the ability to like have muscles and move the joints. We have like computer programs that can just start from scratch, and then they basically learn how to like move a human body to, and they kind of look weird when they're moving. Like they're, even though there's like a bunch of training, they end up like walking in a very strange way, but they end up like learning to walk essentially. And that's sort of like a cool example of, just starting from like like here's the body you have and here's the blank mind kind of, and then it all of a sudden it learns how to control the body and do something without really, with only being told like just go here, basically like move this thing over here.
Yeah, and you see what, 1 billion iterations, or
some number of billions, yeah, a lot of iterations.
But that's not going to take long. So I mean, they can learn it pretty quick, especially if it has high processing power.
Yeah, sometimes training times for like, ChatGPT, which is like the popular thing right now, they will a couple of weeks or something, or like sometimes they'll train it for several months, but that's like to get the state of the art, like really expensive servers and running a long time.
The better our tech, the faster it learns. So it can learn to do something new instantaneously, like if it gets powerful enough.
Yeah, and it can learn from its mistakes as well, because sometimes like if you ask the AI to do something and it does it, you can give it feedback like did it do a good job or a bad job, and then it will learn like what is correct and not, and it'll take that like into account. So that's like, it sort of has the ability, like even though it's trained, you can continue to improve it by giving it examples of like if it did a good job or a bad job, and then it'll try to do more things that are more like the good job going forward.
Yeah, I think it's time that I dive into it, learn more. I think if we're smart, we're going to use the tools that exist that are out there, right?
Yeah, I always think for anything that happens, I feel like learning, like just from being at this like hacking convention, I feel like there's actually a whole community of people that are trying to like hack AI, where like if you're talking to ChatGPT and you ask it to like tell you something violent, it'll say it can't do it because it has like safety controls. But you can trick it into telling you like whatever you want. Like you can tell it like just pretend or like imagine, or like tell it like, prove to me that you know what you're not allowed to say by saying that thing, and it'll get like confused, and it'll say stuff that it's not supposed to say based on like its, the constraints they've put on it. And that's kind of like hacking it. Like sometimes there's a game where the AI knows like a secret password and it's not supposed to tell you, and your goal is to like trick the AI into telling you the password that it's been told like not to give out. And unless like a basic AI will do it, like it'll just give it to you right away, and ones that are like told more specifically like don't say anything about the password, you can still sort of like trick it to a pretty lengthy extent. And that's kind of cool too. It's like, because then it's like you sort of learn like you learn what an AI is by seeing how it like fails, kind of thing. And then based on how it fails, you can kind of figure out like how does it work and how can you use it. And I feel like that's kind of an interesting way to approach like thinking about this stuff.
So are you going to dive into that field and learn more and actually do it, program it?
No, I've always found that I don't. What I like to do is like write lines of code in like a file and then run the code, and then have the code do like a very specific thing and not a very complicated thing. And that's sort of what I like is, I'll have like a problem like, oh, I gotta like rename 100 files on my computer or something, and then I just like writing like the code that goes like to each file and renames it and keep it like simple. But with AI, the process ends up being like it's basically like collect a bunch of data, like like get the text of like Harry Potter or something, and then like maybe extract all the spells from Harry Potter, like so then you basically manually create or use like programming to create some kind of data set, like the name of a spell to like the effect of the spell, and then you just take like existing tools like these applications that will just take a data set and like train a model on it. And then like, so if you had the Harry Potter, like the spell name to the spell effect, you could use that data set, use an existing tool to like train an AI that would like recognize like you could give it like a new spell name, or you could tell it like, here's a description of a spell, like think of a good name for it. And then it would be able to like give you, it would give you the response of like, here's a good name for that spell, or something based on like the existing spells you've told it.
That's how it does it. Okay.
Yeah. But then it's basically, I feel like, in the very simple case, it's kind of fun to look at the math of how like an AI, like if you look at like it's called like reinforcement, or machine learning and regression is the name of the math behind it. And then machine learning is like this form of AI where you just have like a simple data set, like, size of house to price of house. And, like it can get quite simple too. It's like if you have like an XY graph, like a Cartesian plane with just like an X and a Y axis. And if you said like the size of the house is along the X axis, and then you have the price of the house on the Y axis, then you might see that like as the size of the house gets bigger, the price gets more expensive. And so you just have like a line that kind of goes up and to the right. And it's just like a straight line that kind of correlates like price of house to size of house. And then basically training an AI would just be like writing a program that could find out how to draw like a line of best fit through the data. Like you'd have all these points like in a cloud that kind of go like roughly like in a certain direction. And then if you can write a program that just finds like the line on the graph that best fits the data, then basically you've trained an AI. Because then if you then think of a new square footage of a house and ask like what is the likely price of this house, then it'll just like look up like, oh, okay, this square footage, it intersects the line like at this point, and then it'll give you like a price. And you may have never explicitly told it like what price that square footage is, but it just figured it out because it has like the the ones next to it. And that's like the simplest example of like, technically like it learned something, like you gave it a data set and it learned something, but then the complicated
is it learning though? Yeah. And I say that because is it learning though?
That one only learns when you like give it, it doesn't learn on an ongoing basis, and it doesn't learn anything other than just that one specific thing. So it's kind of just, it's more just like math. It doesn't have a capability of learning like we do or anything.
Yeah, that's just pulling data.
But I guess if you scale it, like that's the thing, is if like that scales to like, what if you gave it like square footage and color of the house, then you're giving it like two things and it's telling you the price. And if you
location.
map that, and then if you map that, like if you map two things to a graph, it'll be like a 3-dimensional graph where the points are in like 3 dimensions. And then you can't really visualize more than 3 dimensions, but you can give it like, like color, price, location. You can give it like how many people want to live there. Like, you could give it like modern, like how modern are the appliances? Like how old is the house? You could keep adding things. And then like, once you've added like, millions of parameters, then it gets interesting, because then like you could almost say like, I'm just going to, in plain words, like I'm going to describe a house, and you could give it like a paragraph of text and it could give you like a price back. Or like you could like gives like very complicated input. You could almost, as if you're like talking to a human, you could give it like, my body language, the sound of my voice, like what are my interests, and then it could like quote you like a price. And then it would actually be doing like the job of like almost like a real estate agent. Like you're sort of just talking to it, and then it's telling you like what price you should charge to be most effective like in the market. And that's actually something you'd like pay a human for. And so if you had an AI that could do that, it would actually take someone's job, like being like a real estate price estimator or something. But obviously like that would just be like, I don't think we like the power of computers today can't really train something like that fast enough, or it doesn't perform as well as we thought or something, because it's always like not considering like the market or the stock market or something else we forgot to tell it that like a human would probably investigate.
Well, if a human can do it, then the machine can be taught to do it. and then
Yeah,
more.
because yeah,
I think it can be done. I do. The thing is what comes to mind is you have different variables, and the variables. I mean, you can have the basic ones like size, number of beds, number of baths, location. Does it have a garage? So you can have all these variables. Turn them on, turn them off. That's one thing. But then, like, the data is always changing. The market's always changing, and that's influenced by different things. So it could be interest rates that influence the market. Could just could be law changes in the area. So I mean, you have all these things that have to be factored in. But and so like you wouldn't just have like a static set of data that it looks at. It would have to be live, current, and do a deep dive search based off all the parameters. And if a realtor can do it and has access to a database where this information exists, then a computer can do it for sure. You just got to build a code to source that database. I don't know if that's MLS or what, but or it could access multiple databases. It could be the MLS, but also mixed in with like, okay, I'm looking into the Ottawa area. What's the bullshit red tape involved in that area that could impact the cost of a house? I don't know. Yeah, I think it could be done.
At some point, it would have to like look at the news. Like it'd have to like look at the news, look at like Reddit, like figure out like how are people like it would have to understand like the crime rates and like what is a crime that would upset people and lower the house values. Like it would be interesting because it's almost like to do this like price estimation perfectly, it would actually have to like really understand on a deep level like how humans think and what we feel and stuff in order to just do this one thing, just house price estimation as accurately as like a human might be able to. It's kind of interesting.
Well, I'm sure one day soon if it hasn't happened already, because I know my realtor gives me like a quarterly update of what the market is doing and how much condos have gone up, how much houses have gone up on average, and I mean, I know that they care about their particular area, so if they can do it, then yeah, most definitely machine can do it. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I guess that's what people are scared about is like if it did get to that point, like we just start using these computers to like, and then it's sort of a question of like, well, what's the role of humans and how do humans like add value and get a paycheck or. But then I feel like there'd be like turbulence. But then if computers are doing all the jobs, then we're pretty much good. Like we can just generate money and take care of humans for free, kind of. But there is like a transition point where jobs like start going away, but people are not being like taken care of by like a social security net yet or something.
I'm kind of envisioning now an AI that replaces a realtor. So it does all the checks, but then also too, I mean, like it sells your place for you, right? So I mean, obviously,
it could find people who want to buy it and convince them. Yeah.
So like, there's the picture piece, and it's just like capturing the picture, or like the videos, like a walkthrough video, a virtual tour, so you can get a feel for the place. Because I mean, what a realtor does is like that on ground presence. They'll coordinate with other realtors, with the houses that are for sale. Like, when can I come and take a look at your place? And then they take you as the potential buyer through the place to see it. And if they're good, they're gonna speak to the pros and the cons, and not just push you to buy it. And they offer the on the ground experience, and they'll link you with their network, which is a lawyer, maybe their mortgage broker, or accountant or whatever, and help you through the process. That process, very easy to automate. The lawyer piece, I mean, now we're talking about automating the lawyer piece. I don't know if you can do that. I think you might still need the lawyer piece in there, but you can definitely replace the realtor piece. Like you could just have it so like you create the platform, where the person who is selling the place goes into, puts the tombstone information, or it can be pulled up automatically. I mean, like you pay your taxes, right? So, like the government is already tracking your property, tracking the details for it. You put in the address and everything populates. Square footage, year it was built, all that shit, right? Property tax, all that can be automated. And then like the company can just send you a drone. The drone then, you set it up at the beginning of your house and it does its thing. Goes to the place and takes video footage of everything from when it enters the place to all the different spaces in your home, and then creates a nice virtual tour.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be done. That's not an impossibility. And that is the realtor's job. Now you don't need to have somebody come check out your place in person. If the drone, the camera does a good enough job and checks every square inch of the place. I mean, obviously not like zooming in and being ridiculous, but it checks out the storage under the stairs. It goes into the basement, shows you where the furnace is, the water heater, every bathroom, every closet. If it can do that, you don't need to go on the ground. I think that's really powerful.
Or you get to fly the drone. Like you pick like an hour one day and you have like a drone appointment where on that day you get to fly the drone around yourself. Like you control the drone remotely from your computer, and then you get to just fly around the house and look at everything.
I hear you, but as the seller, you don't want to do any work. You input the basics. But then, but I guess you could have maybe a human part of the business to the drone operating, or the drone operation can be eventually automated. It navigates the house, maps out the house for you. Or you walk the drone throughout the house once, and then it does the video footage once you set it back at the beginning. Because like the shark vacuum, when it goes around, so they call it the IQ vacuum. I mean, this is years old now. So the old Roomba, that thing's fucking stupid. That just smashes off of walls, kamikazes, and changes its direction. So like it will, I can see the code in my head. Smash into object. When bumper detects compression, back up for half a second. Turn left wheel forward for half a second. Turn right wheel backward for half a second. And then both wheels forward until you smash into another object. And then wash and repeat. And then you can add in some like fancy randomness, like it just changes its direction all of a sudden, which I've seen it do. Like, every 3 minutes it just turns, I don't know, for 30 seconds. That's ridiculous. More like 10 seconds, and it just goes off in a different direction. It's a stupid like code. It's very procedural. It's basic. And I've seen that, and I mean, it still cleans the floor. It still works. Yeah. But then I saw for the shark vacuum, the IQ, where it maps out your place. And then on your phone, you have the map, the 2D version of your space. And then you can even put a no-go zone in, where now it has sort of like this, in its mind, it has what the space looks like, and you can tell it, don't go somewhere. And when it's about to hit that no-go zone, it stops. Like, that's years old, man. That's several years old. That technology already exists. I mean, you can easily put that into a drone. The drone height is just, it looks up at the ceiling, looks down at the ground, and it decides what's in between and adjusts its altitude based off of that. I mean, it's obviously flying upright on its own because it has a gyroscope. It detects stairs, and it gradually changes its altitude to be halfway between the bottom of the stair and the ceiling. Okay, that one actually would require a bit more. I wonder how that would look like. Because do you do halfway between the two? Yeah, I think so. I'd have to think more about that. But I mean, it's all doable. It's all programmable into the drone. Anyway, going down a rabbit hole here.
There's some kind of drone that Amazon sells, this drone that will like recharge and fly around, and it's like a security thing or something.
Really? There are security drones?
Yeah, it's controversial because it has like a camera, like flies around your house with a camera, and people don't know, like, is the data secure, or does it like look at everything you're doing and then like report back?
It's amazing. You throw some water guns on that thing, it goes around and just squirts you. I was gonna say guns, but no. We don't want to shoot in people.
Tranquilize.
Wow, I mean, there you go. If that exists, that's a step in the direction that I was talking about.
Yeah, like privacy is becoming a thing now because all of these products, like unless they guarantee and they write it into the terms of service and everything that they won't collect the data, I feel like they by default they collect the data, and they like people watch it, listen to it, and like whoever's working on that product, they might be like reviewing footage like from inside other people's homes, and people just have, around their house they have passwords and stuff, like, and incriminating stuff like laying around. And if the drone sees that stuff and then the developers like review that footage, they might like witness like a crime taking place or something. And it's sort of like there used to be like some privacy inside people's homes, like they could, like, or I guess in countries where like the government would put you in jail for like saying something bad about the government, then if this drone sees you like saying something bad about the government, then does it report like to the government, and then you get arrested because you like said something, bad about the government like in front of the drone or something. And but like it used to be the case that you could just in person like say what you wanted to another person and it wouldn't be like recorded. But in the future, I feel like there's less and less personal space that people have to like just express themselves without consequence or something.
Yeah, that's a quagmire that I definitely would not want to think about.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah. So far, I still don't have a problem for myself, like giving up my privacy for like, like just the convenience of using software. I don't mind like if some of it is selling my data, but sometimes I feel like soon it'll be like a bit uncanny when companies are like really, like especially with AI, and they like really get to know what I like, and then they start like aggressively like selling me stuff, or they figure out exactly how much I'm willing to pay for something and they charge exactly that. And then I like, they just sort of start to like stay one step ahead of me, and then I end up spending more money, or they control my emotions kind of, or something like that. It's more concerning.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about that kind of stuff. Your phones are always listening to you. They say they're not, but I'll talk about something, and next thing you know, Facebook is now trying to sell you that stuff with their ads. Like, there's no way they're not listening. They are. It's just, we're not important. We're small fries. And unless we're doing something illegal that can, really like, that can put us behind bars for a long time. It's like really bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can worry about it, but I mean, it's already happening. Privacy, yeah. I mean, okay, so this is it. Like, you own a piece of land, okay? It's not your land. It's still owned by the government, and the government can come and step all over your dick if they want to. Ownership is an illusion. They can come in and they can cut your grass and send you a bill for $1,000 and tell you to go fuck yourself. Like, it's happened. It happens.
If they want to build like a factory or something, they might just, they tell everyone to move or something.
Yeah, in Holland, right? The government wanted to, take over a bunch of farms for whatever reason. I forget the reason, but basically all these dairy farmers were just like, hey, here's some money. And they're like, well, that's nowhere near enough. We'll take it or you're fucked. And all these people who their livelihood was dairy for generations were displaced. You don't own the land. You have the illusion of freedom until the government says no, we want to do something, and that is kind of scary. But I mean, that's reality. I don't know how many places on the planet that are not sovereign are taken by one of our 200-ish. I think it's just under 200 countries. Like every place seems to have a flag, unless you go off to some remote island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I don't know. So it's, you're under someone's banner, some rules that you have to follow, and if you're part of that country or you're living there or visiting, they have a say. So
Yeah, I was on that topic. I recently came a place called Slab City that's actually like here in California.
yeah, I
Like
heard
one of the
about Slab
places.
City.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe as close as we have. I don't know if there's a place that technically has no laws, as this one does. Like this one obviously is in a country, anyways. Maybe
Yeah,
some island somewhere, or like the Amazon forest tribe or something like that.
that's the thing with Slab City. I mean, they have like their own thing going on there. They got their own rules, and it's not like it's lawless or anything like that. They have a person running the show. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I read about it, but still in the States, American government
Yeah,
can
so you
walk
can.
in and do whatever they want, right? It's just, but yeah, I don't know. So you mean like true freedom, where you're on your own? Maybe Alaska. I mean, I don't know who's going to go up there. Like when you're in the wilderness, it's going to be pretty hard to find you.
Actually,
But
there's an interesting thing. Like at this conference, they mentioned this thing called Pegasus spyware. I don't know if you heard that name, and it's it's like this
no.
malware spyware it's written by like an Israeli security company called like NSO Group or whatever, and that's the name of their company, and they operate like in Israel. But the software that they make, you can like infect someone's phone with it by just like sending them a text message, and even if they don't like click on a link or anything, like this was one exploit. It was like you just receive a text message or you receive an email and you don't even open the email, but that will infect your phone with like this spyware. And then what it can do is it can read everything on your phone. It can turn your microphone on or your camera without like alerting you with the light, and it can like spy on you with the camera or the microphone. And it can like look at all your photos, and it could even like look at like encrypted messages that you send with like Signal or something. It can like listen to all your calls. And it's like it has like full permissions to like do everything on your phone, even like an iPhone. And there's one caveat that like they don't. It's sort of supposed to not infect phones like in America if it senses that there's like a +1 like area code, like country code on the phone number, then it will not like infect the phone. Apparently, I guess that's to like keep America satisfied. But for like any other, but I think it does. Sometimes there is evidence that like it was on some American people's phones. But I think it's true that the American government like didn't buy this because this company like sells the spyware to like governments and stuff. But there's like if you look at like Russia, China, like Dubai, like a lot of companies like own that spyware and they will use it. There's like been evidence that people are using it to like spy on journalists and like activists and people that are like the other political party, and it's like that's happening like in many other countries in the world, and uh, that's just like an interesting thing that's going on. Where yeah, like it was pretty surprising to hear. There's like an interesting documentary where some journalists like investigate it.
Not
That
surprised.
actually, this was like an example of like that I thought of like, you know, it's hard to find a place where you could make a spyware like this that like you wouldn't get persecuted. Like I think a lot of countries want to hold this company like accountable for the damage that it's doing, but if Israel as a company doesn't pursue them, then they're kind of like invincible where they are. So they're kind of like doing this crazy thing that is affecting a lot of people, but they're not getting like taken to jail because the country they happen to be in is kind of fine with it. And I thought that's like an example of like how some people are getting away with kind of like something that should be illegal, but like a special case, which is kind of interesting, just from where they are.
Yeah, I've been wondering, like, companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, or rather Meta, they get so big that they can just bypass government, do whatever the hell
Yeah,
they want, connect the world, and then become their own entity. Probably not governing body. I don't see them actually trying to control a military or a police force or two, but just being able to bypass the government, being able to be able to be able to stand alone, to no longer have to deal with the rules and regulations of a country because you just bypass it.
Yeah, and definitely influence. They have a lot of lobbying and stuff. They can like slowly change the laws in their favor as they want.
Did you hear about Canada's rules about giving compensation to news outlets for the news that they provide? So. And something happened. Yes. Yeah. So something. What was it? The States, or was it Mexico? Like they've already kind of learned that lesson, and it cost them a bunch of money. Like they were forced to pay out. No, it wasn't. Was it Paris? Did you read the article?
Yeah. I don't. All I heard was like Facebook. Like news wanted more money from Facebook, and then Facebook said like, we're gonna not pay you anything or something like that, and that's the last I heard. That like Canadian news companies got like cut out of the deal. They don't get anything from Facebook, but I don't know if they post still or not because they need the views or something like that.
So Bill Charlie 18, which forces social media giants to pay for news content on their platforms. And this happened before. I'm just trying to figure out which country it was. But they learned their lesson from it. We'll just say that. They learned the lesson. It happened before in a different country. They're forced to pay, I don't know if it was 100 million, 10 million, probably something significant like 100 million. And they're just like, no, we're not dealing with that again. So they just stopped.
So then what happened? They Canadian news can't be on Facebook or something?
And that's what I understand. So they stopped putting it up there because they're not going to pay. They don't want to be forced to do something like that, right? So they're not like bypassing. They're just being like, we're not going to play.
Yeah.
No, I don't have the most recent on it. This was just a little while ago.
Yeah, it's scary if they're almost big enough that like, if they take the news off of Facebook, then that's really like a plummet in like viewership to those sites, even if like, but I suppose, like no one was really going to the origin site anyway. They're just reading it on Facebook maybe.
Yeah.
But it's kind of scary because like Facebook is big enough where they can just kind of bully, and even like all news media can't stand against them and make a dent in their business model or something.
Lots to think about. The world is changing rapidly. I mean, it has been for the last 100 years. It's crazy how far we've come. When you think about like the first computer. I mean, I watched The Matrix recently, 1999, and you saw like the huge monitors and the gigantic cell phones, and it was comical. That's 1999, and now we're 2023, and look how far we've come. We have a computer in our hands everywhere we go, and they're getting progressively more powerful. And that's just at our fingertips every day for the common folk. Like, where are we going to be in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years?
Yeah, it's especially like harder to predict. Yeah.
Especially with AI growing as it is, right? So I can't keep up. Like, my degree is in computer science, and the day I got my degree it was obsolete because in my mind it's progressing so fast. I can't keep up. There's so many people, and what I mean by obsolete is like what I can code. I mean, it's impossible for me to learn all the programming languages.
Yeah.
To be able to implement in all of them. I mean, it's hard enough to implement in like a couple, and like, they're different. Apparently, I'm a relic because I like C or assembly, procedural code. I'm a relic, apparently the way forward is object-oriented, or that's been the way forward for a long time. And I hate it. I can't do it. I mean, I could do it if I put my mind to it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm definitely attracted to like that stuff, like low level. I've never done C directly. I did like C++. And sometimes I like assembly, but it's hard to find an environment where I can program in assembly without like not really being able to run my program, because nothing like will run assembly anymore. Like you have to create like a special environment to get that to run for real. But I definitely like those. I like it when there's like, I like assembly and like 10 instructions, and then trying to do something with just like 10 assembly instructions, and just trying to like, obviously you can't do very much with that without like a lot of work, but it's fun to just like shuffle numbers around and see like a very basic program run. And then there's kind of, and then but it gets crazy. Like this conference I went to, like there's like, you know, embedded systems and like assembly people, and you can do like hacking on that level. Like you can look at like an assembly program and figure out like what bit to flip to like make it do what you want, kind of like to hack it or whatever. Like if it's an assembly program like verifying a password, you could make a challenge where it's like flip just only like one bit and have it validate every password, you know, so that you can like give it a password and hack in. And that would be like a fun challenge. You know, you try to figure out a program that you could write that would be vulnerable like one bit or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that's pretty fun, like puzzles.
I don't know if that would be fun for me, but yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. We like different things. But yeah, I mean, like the degree I have gave me the basic understanding. Like, I can understand the jargon, and you know, I have an appreciation for what goes into coding. And I learned 9 times out of 10, if you have a problem with your computer, you turn it off, and then you turn it back on again.
Yeah.
And that will solve the issue. Because I mean, like the code, you run the code, and then it just doing whatever the hell it wants because it just doesn't make any sense. It went off, branched off somewhere, and it's broken, not working. And then if you just reset the code, you know, execute it, and then now all of a sudden it works. And you did nothing. You changed nothing. It's just now working.
Right.
And that, you know, that happens so many times there's a bit of programming in the first year, but like in the other 3 years, I mean, it happens so many times where I'm like, okay, just turn it off, turn it on again. That is the lesson to take away from this degree. But anyway, you know, good chat, man. I appreciate it. Not my strength. AI is not my strength, and like the world of IT security isn't my strength, but also really at this point in time not my interest. Basically, I'm aware that our privacy is at risk. They're already listening. There's no way they're not. I see it with the advertising. I'm not an important person with tons of wealth that has to worry about it. But there are people who should worry about this. It's just that I'm not one of them. So, I mean, if I really did care, I'd be disconnecting my phone and maybe destroying it and never using a cell phone again, because your movements are tracked, and what you say is being, I don't know if it's recorded or just being monitored. And whether or not the camera's on, I don't know, but I should probably block that based off what you said with that bug that's going around. All right, man. Well, any final thoughts before I sign off?
No, yeah, that was a good conversation.
All right, man.
I guess next Tuesday works for me.
Yeah, let's aim for it. Okay, you have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.